You gotta give me one thing. I'm a scary judge of talent.
Adolphus Washington, back-to-back plays.
The Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Triple Double Podcast. I'm Corey Albertson. Jason Morrow's with us as always, and today's guest is in the house. Usually we have to do these via Skype. We've got him in the building, so it's going to be a little more fun, a little more intimate. We got the Cincinnati legend, Paul McMillan. Paul, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, Corey? Hello, people.
Hey, man, we appreciate you coming in. For people who don't know Paul, Paul's a very well-known figure in Cincinnati high school basketball scene. As a player back in the day, as a coach, he most recently was the head coach over at Woodward High School, and then took some time off of that. He's still involved in coaching on the AAU level, involved in running some events. He's going to talk about an event he's got coming up here. And is that the Paul McMillan story? Did I get it all?
Yeah, you got enough. If the people want to ask any questions, they can always reach out to you or respond on the podcast or whatever the case may be. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I put up today that you were going to be on the podcast, and they wanted to know, like, in terms of coaching, like, where do you get the suits?
That's something.
Jay Wright from Villanova called.
Okay.
He's like, where does Paul?
It really pretty much just depends. When I played, so once in high school, we always had to dress up in high school. So from high school to college, we didn't have to dress up in college. But then once we started playing pro ball, at that time the CBA was still kind of connected to the NBA. It was like a direct transition to the NBA at that time. So we had to dress up. We had to dress up to go to every game. So it just became habit. I like looking good. I felt better. It made me coach a little better, I thought. So I love
and it's part of what you did. We'll talk basketball today, but real quick, you do a lot of stuff for the community, for young men, helping them mature, and dressing the part is part of that.
Oh, absolutely. I'll just lead by example. So the kids see me dressed up. And they know there's a different way. They don't have to wear jeans and things like that all the time. So it's just something different to show the kids.
Okay. Well, speaking of Woodward, you're not there as the coach anymore, but you're still very close to Woodward. You're doing your event there. So I forgot to introduce what we're doing today, which is continuing with our previews. We did a college preview. We did a Northeast Ohio preview with TJ Petrus. Just literally got off the phone with Zach Fleer. Jason's still in here. We're talking about Columbus. Now we're going to do Cincinnati, a little bit of Dayton. So in terms of Cincinnati basketball, one of the first places this year that people are going to be able to see Cincinnati high school basketball is at your preview. So what's up with that?
Yeah, so the preview should be good. This year we have about 18 different high school teams that'll be participating. Obviously, the preview, you get 2 quarters, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You get to come out, see a couple quarters of maybe your best team. We pretty much covered and have most of the best teams in the area with the exception of a few. So it'll be a lot of talent there. We're very excited about the preview. And I'm just ecstatic about some of the younger kids that I've been able to see here in the preseason and also over the course of the summer. So really excited about Cincinnati basketball. We also have a team or two from Dayton that'll be coming down participating. I believe Dayton Stivers is in the preview as well, which they have a really good team, really good shooting team, couple really good guards from a team last year that lost to the state championship Deer Park team. So I thought they could have probably made it to the Final Four, maybe even a little further, maybe the championship game had they not lost to Deer Park. So I'm really excited about the preview. It's going to be exciting. There'll be a lot of teams. Hopefully all the fans come out and support it. And we also do the preview. The preview is also used as a fundraiser, and we donate a lot of the money to different programs. So this year, 3 different programs will get some of the proceeds in order to help their boys basketball team.
That's great. And what year is this?
For me, this will be year 6.
That's great.
This will be year 6. I did it for 4 years when I was the head coach at Woodward. Last year, I took the year off from coaching to kind of do some things with my son and work with my son, kind of help develop him. And now I'll be assistant over at Hughes this year.
Okay, so you're on the staff of Hughes. Coach Wine, so one thing about the City League schools, they got big staffs. And,
Big staffs.
Coach
Big
Wine
staffs.
has, got a lot of talent. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. He's somebody I got to get on the podcast. So let's jump into the Cincinnati high school basketball scene. And before we hit OHSAA, I think we should talk about one other thing real quick, which is your friend, Coach Sammy, is doing good things over at Dahn. So tell the people, and a lot of college coaches, when they hit me up, are not familiar with Dahn yet. This is their second year having a post-grad team. What's he doing? Who's he got on the team?
So Sammy is working extremely hard over there. He has a young man. He has Deshaun that came over from Deer Park. He has a lot of young talent over there. Probably I think they only have about 8 to 10 kids on the team. But they're really loaded. I mean, they play some really good talent. They play Huntington Prep, along with a number of other prep schools that will play throughout the course of the year. But I strongly encourage college coaches to get over there and take a look at some of those guys. Matthew, who is the starting point guard over there, is really good. In my opinion, Matthew is a mid-major point guard. Definitely low major. If he go low major Division I, he'll really excel. He can really score the ball, great vision, great change of speed, really good change of speed. So, I mean, people really need to get over there and take a look at Dahn because they're actually playing really good talent. So it's not like they're just playing anybody. They're playing really good teams.
Well, we watched him play. You and I watched him play Spire's post-grad team, and that's a team with some talent. Not the team with LaMelo and Rocket Watts, but their fifth-year team. They had a couple kids who are signed to Division I's that are really good. And, Dahn, they're a little bit smaller, but their guards are really good players. Matthew Lee, Puerto Rican kid. He's kind of similar to the other Puerto Rican kids that have come to Cincinnati, where the Division I, even some of the Division II schools are maybe a little hesitant to take them for some reason, and they end up becoming really, really good, highly recruited players like Angel Rivera did and like Giovanni Santiago's doing now. And then the other two kids I want to mention real quick from there, Mikkel Burries, played at Newport, Kentucky. So just a couple miles outside of Cincinnati. He's having a big year, can really score, getting some Division I interest, is a Division I qualifier. And then DJ Bruton, who played at Hughes High School, really dynamic scorer, athlete, and he's going to put up some points real quick for Sammy too. So that's Dahn. Let's look at Division I. You called me when I put my preview up online.
Absolutely.
The problem with my preview online, and we're going to get into this, is my second and third ranked schools have both lost a major piece. So
major pieces.
So Moeller's probably number one, right?
So Moeller is easy. We like to call Moeller a well-oiled machine. And it'll be no different this year. Obviously with Deuce there, over there, McBride, that's headed to West Virginia. They have Alec over there, Alec Prem. He's a really good player, along with Eugene Land's son, who played at the University of Cincinnati, Max Land. Tough, athletic.
Let me interrupt you real quick.
Go ahead.
When I talk to college coaches who are a little older, maybe in their 50s, late 40s, and I tell them Eugene Land's son, Max Land, they get excited hearing Eugene Land. How good was his father?
So Eugene was more of a around the basket athlete, kind of just a monster, dunking
like
home. About 6'6". Eugene probably was 240 in high school. So being 240 in high school, obviously, he really dominated around the basket. But Max is more of I like to look at Max as potentially could be an even better player than his dad, but just a little more versatile. Could play on the perimeter, really has the spring in his bounce, high motor. So I really like Max and that well-oiled machine that they have over at Moeller.
They've got experience, they've got size, they've got shooting, they've got the Moeller system, and with a lot of these other teams, we're going to get to some of the losses that Preston and Winton Woods just took. Moeller certainly has a huge edge.
Yeah, and then they have the sophomore kid, Logan Dankum. Duncan, he played at. We played them actually with my AAU team. We were a year younger, but we played them versus the Mid Ohio Pumas. So I liked him then. It's another kid that I wasn't very familiar with. He played for the Cincinnati Royals that attends Moeller. About 6'4", a real rounded kid. So Moeller again. Yeah,
Alex Williams. They have a number of sophomores, and it's the way Moeller does things. They won't all play varsity.
Right.
They got another one from the Royals, a 6'5" kid named Aiden Noyes. They got a kid named Will McCracken who started on Indiana Elite, so he's a very, very good player. Antoine Jackson, assistant from Mick Cronin over at Cincinnati. His son's a point guard. He's a good player. So they got a number of kids. Elijah, number of kids. So, well, you thought the number 2 team. You disagreed with me. I had Princeton 2, Winton Woods. Sorry. Yeah, I had Princeton 2, Winton Woods 3. You had Winton Woods 2, but everything changed since we scheduled this podcast. Greg Tribble, along with Deuce McBride, one of the 2 most well-known high school players in Cincinnati this year. He's going to Huntington Prep. So is Winton Woods still number 2 for you?
No. Winton Woods, that's a huge loss. When you lose a kid like Greg Tribble at that point guard spot, who you really was relying on to be pretty much the focus of your offense, that really hurts. I believe that now the second best team probably in Division I to me would probably be Lakota East. Lakota East has Bash. Bash he's already committed. Bash is a versatile wing / post at the high school level. We actually just scrimmaged, had the honor of scrimmaging Lakota East over this past Saturday, which was a really good, intense scrimmage. So Lakota East this year will be very physical. They have some length and they can really shoot the basketball. So that'll to me, they move into that 2 spot with the loss of Greg Tribble from Winton Woods, and then also with Princeton losing the kid that went back to Kentucky,
Taj Harding.
When Taj left Princeton, Princeton does still have a lot of young talent. They have a couple transfers in. So which still it puts them right in the mix. Khalil Davis will be back at the guard spot. They have a transfer from Clark Montessori, which is Micah Thomas, that kind of replaced the Aaron kid that went to Winton Woods. But I still would drop them down a few spots with the loss of Taj.
Well, you talked about, Lakota East. They're really good. Bash Whelan played some AAU for me this past year. He's 20 pounds away from being a big-time player. He's just a little skinny right now, but his skill set is really there. He knows how to play, works hard. Junior there, Alex Mangold, is more of a post than Bash, but similar where he's big and can really shoot the ball. And, Clint Atkins took over for Wally Vickers, and those are other guys I want to get on the podcast. Clint does a really good job at East. And if you look, he's been tweeting out some of the stats for his college players, and I didn't really realize he's had some guys have some really, really good success at the Division II and the Division I level. So East is a very good program. Princeton next in that league, GMC. Princeton's got a lot of guys, and Winton Woods is in the same boat. They got a lot of guys with talent that we've been talking about on the circuit for years, and now it's time for them to do it.
Well, Princeton, it's going to be very difficult to replace what Princeton lost last year. So they have 0 returning starters this year from a 23-4 team. So it's going to be very hard to replace, Darius and that group of guys. So, but they do have a good group of young guys. As I named some of them, they have a kid named Denarius Barker that transferred in from North College Hill. They have Greg Johnson, who actually transferred in. He's a really good, solid guard, about 6 foot, 6'1", that came from St. X. He should be able to come and add value to what they already have in place. So I still like Princeton. I just don't like them as high as I did.
Another guard for them is Caleb Crawford. And then they've got a couple football kids, Darian Henry and Jaheim Thomas. Those kids really give them that physicality, which in the GMC, you need football kids.
You have to be tough in the GMC.
Now, the thing about that league is everybody's out for Princeton. They've had a lot of success the last 2 years, Darius Baisley, Darwishi Hunter, so they're going to get everybody's best game. Princeton, Lakota East, and the other team in that league that I really like is Hamilton. They got a new coach, Kevin Higgins, has experience in that league, was at Coleraine. Most recently, I believe, was at Lebanon, and now he's at Hamilton. They've got senior guards, DeMarco Howard and Jalen Robinson, both average
double-digit scores,
17 a game each last year. And then they've got Jalen's younger brother, Trey Robinson. So if they can, I don't know a whole lot about them outside of those 3. I'm going to see them play Purcell in a scrimmage in a couple weeks, but they're probably next in that league, and some of the people in that league think that they could ultimately end up being number 1.
I think what'll end up happening, the Lakota West will surprise a lot of people this year. Jimmy Leon really has those kids playing hard. They have a little size. They have a 6'8" kid, a couple 6'6" kids. They had a transfer from Lakota East. His name is Matt Del Salvio. Matt DeSalvo or something along that lines, but he's pretty good. He transferred from Lakota East. He'll come right in. He'll be a starter for Lakota West. So I think Lakota West will also be good this year in that league. I think they'll come out and surprise some people. Last year they were like 4-19. I don't think they'll come close to that this year. I think they should win double-digit games this year with the team that they have.
For sure. And then, I think people are not expecting huge things necessarily in the GCL outside of Moeller. LaSalle, Elder, X, I don't think are expected to necessarily compete for the region. So the other Division I teams outside of that, who we just talked about, I think you got Winton Woods, I think you got Walnut Hills, and I really think you got Withrow.
Definitely got to throw Walnut Hills in the mix. You got the double machine and Nick Smith over there. Obviously, you have Coach Ricardo's son over there, Ryan, who's a veteran point guard. Has been playing on the varsity level for I think about 3 years now. So he'll be solid, run the show. He'll have that tenacity on defense. Have another kid over there, combo guard, that can pretty much get where he wants on the floor. A kid named Ed Abernathy. Pretty good kid. He's a combo guard, can score the ball at a high level. So Walnut, you have to put Walnut in the mix.
The guy for Walnut, I watched him on Saturday, and Ricardo had been telling me about him. His name is Greg Filia. Transferred from Roger Bacon. He's a senior, and he's a kid I didn't really know much about.
Plays with like a chip on his shoulder.
He's a good player.
Yep.
He'll score in that league, but in that league, Walnut Hills has run that league. Withrow is going to be right there.
So you think Withrow will be right there this year with Walnut?
Right there.
Okay. Well, Withrow does have a lot of returning players. They have the length, definitely have the length with Abba and those guys over there. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Walnut will probably again win that league, but it'll be interesting to see how Withrow fares against, that top team in Walnut.
I'm a big believer in this, Paul. I've said it before in the podcast. In Cincinnati, Ohio, when Withrow, Princeton, and Winton Woods are good in Division I, it makes Cincinnati High School better.
Absolutely.
Those are three schools with talent, with fan bases, and those three schools being better is really, really good for the culture for basketball. Winton Woods lost Tribble, but they've still got some guys.
Oh, yeah, I think Winton Woods, and last year, Winton Woods ended up beating Walnut Hills in the tournament, so they kind of came on strong, kind of changed their identity a little bit toward the end of the year, where last year they were kind of playing more of a half-court game where they had the athletes and the talent to play faster. So, with Coach Andre Tate over there now, I'm sure everything is up-tempo, a lot of pressure. They have the young kid over there, obviously, Damari Martin, who will be a good player. He's developing a good shooter for him. Of course, they have Aaron Ward that transferred from Princeton over there.
Should have a big year.
Yeah, I mean, I still think losing Greg, I still think that Winton Woods will have a good year. Although Winton Woods does have a very tough schedule because they're not in the conference. They're not in a conference. So I think they'll still have a really good year. I don't think they would have the year that they would have had without Greg, but I still think they'll be in the mix.
Oh, they're always going to be in the mix. I mean, high school coaches last year, Division I, didn't want to play Winton Woods at the end of the year. We're happy to play him in December.
Correct.
And I watched him play in December. I think the first time I saw him, was it against Moeller? Or did I see him? No, I saw him play Hughes the first time I saw him, and they weren't very good outside of Greg. Right. And by the end of the year, when they beat Walnut Hills, they were very good. So that's going to be a fun team to watch, even without Greg.
And they'll be extremely athletic as well because they have, they'll put a couple football kids out there. And can't forget about the kid Leroy Walker, who can knock the three down. If he ever puts it all the way together, he's a really, really good talent. Can knock the three down, has probably a 40-inch vertical, really high leaper. So I think Winton Woods will still be in the mix.
Well, where we've had success in Southwest Ohio the last few years statewide, outside of maybe Moeller, has been Divisions 2 through 4. And I think that's the case again this year. There's some really good Division 2 through 4 teams. I'll let you start off first. You're having played in it and coached in it. You're familiar with the Cincinnati City League.
Yeah, I mean, the CMAC will, again, be tough. I mean, one thing about the CMAC is it's like going through a gauntlet all school year, for the entire season. And then once they get the tournament, they just battle tested because they've been night in, night out banging. It's not very – even the teams that are at the bottom of the CMAC are going to come out and give you a fight. So they'll come out and give you, push you, challenge you, and you'll have a hard night, tough night out playing in the CMAC. So,
but this year, I think even more so, you could argue a couple different teams for being the favorite. It's not like it's been Hughes and Taft a little bit, Woodward last year. This year, it's wide open.
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's wide open. I think it's about 3 or 4 teams that can win it. I guess that's considered to be wide open.
Pretty
but
open to me.
Yeah, it's open. It's open. But I think you have to put Taft at the top as favorites right now with their experience. They have obviously their floor general coming back, and DeMarco Bradley. He's been there. The coach's son knows it and knows what his dad or the head coach expects. You have grown man, obviously Krishan Stringer that'll go out there. He'll probably make a push for Player of the Year in the league.
He's the favorite.
He's the favorite for Player of the Year, depending on what they can get from the kid Dante Mosley. If he's healthy or not. If Dante's healthy, it makes them a much better team. And then they add the transfer in the Kai Smith, which really makes them a different team.
You mentioned Leroy Walker as a kid, if he puts it together. Aaron Ward as a kid, if he puts it together. Nakai Smith is the biggest one in that mix.
Right.
If he puts his tools together and he buys into what Taft wants to do in terms of effort, that kid has a lot of talent.
And that's a big if, because I mean for Nakai, that's a different style of basketball that Taft will play. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, me being over at Hughes now, we played them twice. We played them the third game of the year, which is going to be just like an exciting year. I mean, our schedule to start the year out is like ridiculous. We start out with Woodward, Moeller, then at Taft. So it's like we start out with a gauntlet. But yeah, that'll be really interesting to see and intriguing to watch that how Nakai does in that new style of basketball.
So what can we expect from Hughes then?
Oh man, I mean, I think a lot of people will be surprised what Hughes looks like. Hughes is another one of those teams that'll be pretty much young in that a lot of the kids have not played varsity. Obviously, they'll probably start the freshman point guard, who is my son, Paul, and everybody's looking to see what Paul McMillan IV is going to do. And I think they'll be surprised that the type of player that he is, how he'll distribute, how he gets his teammates involved, how he'll run the show up. So you can expect to see, then you have kids that's a sophomore now, like Cameron McKenzie. Cameron McKenzie is probably one of the best scorers in Southwest Ohio. A lot of people don't know that. He played a little JV and varsity last year.
Hughes started 5 seniors last year.
Exactly, and there were 5 good seniors.
Right.
5 good seniors.
Not a lot of minutes off the bench.
Not a lot of minutes. So this year you can expect to see, Cameron McKenzie, obviously Paul McMillan IV will be running the show over there. A.B. Herrera, he'll be over there. He'll do a great job. You have a 6'9" kid, rim protector, a floor runner, high motor, and Kenny Jackson.
Now he didn't play a lot during the season, I know. Mm-hmm. He played in the tournament when they played Woodward, and I thought he was tremendous.
Yeah, Kenny's a kid. This is his second year at Hughes. He's a kid that's kind of just now really coming into his own. Last year was his first year over at Hughes. And before that, I think he was at a small school, Performing Arts or something like that. But now he's really starting to get the minutes. He's really starting to get the work, and he's just getting better. Really, Hughes is going to go depending on how good he is defensively. Mm-hmm. Offensively, Coach White always does a good job. The system they run, it'll be another year where they're guard heavy and have some really good guards. They'll be young, but really good guards. But if Kenny can bring it night in, night out defensively, it'll make Hughes a much better team, and Hughes will be right there in the mix to win the league.
I think the third team in that league would probably be your alma mater, Aiken.
Absolutely. Coach Ty Cass has Jakota Stone over there.
Good player.
Jakota Stone is a sophomore, 2021, and he's a player. We've been kind of waiting for Jakota to come around, and he was when they were younger, because Jakota's been around. He's been a player since, second, third grade. And he kind of, for about 2 years, he kind of went off the scene and wasn't considered the best kid in that class any longer. And then all of a sudden, he just came back last year, went to the right school, got in the right atmosphere, the right coach, coached him up. So, Jakata's carrying that team, and Tremaine Smith is another kid.
Ty told me that Jakata in the fall, he told me I think he's got a chance to start as a freshman. And then I saw him the second game of the year, and he had like 21.
This was last year.
Last year as a freshman.
Okay,
He just came out of and Ty even told me after the game, he's like, yeah, we didn't know he was that good.
Yeah. He slimmed down, lost some weight, kind of stayed the course, stayed in the gym, and just, worked his way back up in the mix. And now he's, he honestly, quite honestly, with the pieces around him, you have Tremaine Smith over there. He's
the kid that he's what's going to define Aiken. Right.
And he's a high motor kid. You got to put a body on him to box out. You have a shooter in Dean. Ty brings in his son is there now, who will make some open shots and kind of feel his way in as a freshman.
He started on Saturday. I saw the scrimmage.
Okay.
Robbie Cass started.
And so he started. So he's already in the mix. So,
They got another kid, Paul. Greg Stewart transferred in from St. Bernard.
Greg Stewart, little guard from St. Bernard.
He's another one. He's not there yet. He's got to get stronger, but he's got some ability.
The good thing about, the CMAC is, as most of our schedules are pretty tough early. So, as we get after in the CMAC, as the teams get after, Christmas break, mid around Martin Luther King Day, mid January, after that, going into tournament time, again, those teams will be battle tested.
Right.
Those teams will be battle tested. So it'll make for a really, really interesting tournament.
Well, the two teams that stand out to me that are non-CMAC teams, Division 2 through 4, by far and away, last year, undefeated, Division 3 state champions, Deer Park. And then maybe even the team that's right there with Deer Park. You could honestly argue that they're even the favorite because they returned their whole team from last year in the GCL, Purcell Marion. Those might be the two best teams in Ohio in Division 3.
So for me right now, Deer Park, it can't take anything away from Deer Park. Defending state champion. I think they lost a lot when they lost McIntyre last year.
Right.
So that was a big
Jalen
loss.
Rose too.
Jalen Rose, a knockdown shooter. For me this year, that gives Purcell the edge. I like Purcell. I know a lot of those kids over there at Purcell. And I know about a lot of the kids at Purcell. I mean, they return a first team all league. And Javante, Alex Dotson, who was second team all league. Then you got AJ Garrett, who was also a second team all league. So then you got the young kid Jared, who's a knockdown shooter. So right now, I would have to give Purcell the edge.
Well, Purcell, and then you got AJ Garrett at 6'6", you got Brian Ward at the senior at 6'6". You got Alex Dotson at a guard at like 6'3", 6'4". Javante Lyons isn't as tall. He's like 6', 6'1", but he's one of the most physically strong kids in the state of Ohio. That's a big team for Division 3. That's going to be tough to guard. And they've got some other kids. They got some young kids. Coach Kerr's been on the podcast. They're going to play.
So if you go back and look at last year's game in the tournament with Deer Park and Purcell, with Purcell missing a numerous amount of free throws.
20.
So they missed so many free throws. That game probably could have easily been different had they made some free throws. But all credit to Deer Park. I mean, they won it. Those are the defending champs. I just think where Purcell returns this year, I think we have to give them the edge. Although Deer Park is the return.
Well, I saw Deer Park on Saturday against Walnut and Aiken, and my thoughts on Deer Park are their starting five is tremendous. Very, very good. I don't know how much depth they've got. It's not going to hurt them in their league, in the CHL. We'll talk about Wyoming. I think that's the only team that's going to give them any type of problem. But when they play some of the big boys, they play Taft early in the season. It's going to be a game, But you got to talk about, you got Steve Gentry Jr., you've got Ibrahima Athi, you've got Joe Hawker, Division I football signee, but the guy that makes them go, Mark Wise might be the best junior in the city. I had a high school coach tell me yesterday that with Greg Tribble gone outside of Deuce McBride, he thought that Mark Wise was the best guard in Cincinnati.
So, Mark with his build, his physique, he's a big, strong guard, not very quick, but uses his body very well. He's improved on his jump shot. Jump shot is looking a lot better as he's been in some of the open gyms around the city in the preseason. His jump shot is looking a lot better. And quite honestly, they're going to go off of the energy and what Mark does.
Mark's the alpha male.
Alpha male. Absolutely. So, and then, Steve will play up-tempo style of basketball. But again, I think with Purcell returns, they'll be pretty good. I think in Southwest Ohio, you also have Stivers. I think those probably will be three of the teams.
Trotwood.
Trotwood's D2.
All right.
Those that's D3. So D3, I think those will probably be three of the teams that kind of make that push for the Final Four from Southwest Ohio. But then on the other side, you do in that league, you have Wyoming, and Wyoming returns a lot. And Joey Edmonds,
my guy.
I know that's your guy. We call Mr. Fundamental, Mr. Everything, the engine, and Joey Edmonds. And then you have Isaiah Walker. He'll be a sophomore this year. It'll be interesting to see his development and what he does this year.
The other kid I always sing the praises of, and he might end up playing quarterback at Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama someday, but he's a hell of a basketball player. The kid Evan Prater is a very good junior, plays hard, can get you 20 points, can get you 10 rebounds. And what the thing with Wyoming, I've watched him a ton. I know Coach Edmonds very well, is can guys take the pressure off of their three? You got Joey, you got Evan Prater, and Isaiah Walker was a freshman last year. He's going to step up way more this year. He's more physically ready, but can they have guys 4 through maybe 7 or 8 that can help those guys out? They're going to need that if they're going to beat Deer Park or if they're going to have a chance to beat you guys or Taft in the playoffs.
And again, I really, not going off of Wyoming, but again, it just goes back to, this year in the city of Cincinnati, the 2019 class is not as strong as we've seen some of the other classes. But, with the emergence of some of this young talent, I'm extremely excited. And I think, of course, again, it's my son, but I'm extremely excited to see Paul McMillan IV and what he does this year. Great young talent, Jakata Stone over at Aiken. I'm excited to see the kid Caden Warner. I'm excited to see Cameron McKenzie. That's over at Hughes. I'm excited to see some of these young girls, guys.
People, Paul, don't ever talk about. I'm guilty of this too. Berto reminds me all the time, but Coach Berto Allen's got an emerging program, Division IV at Gamble Montessori, and are they the favorites in Cincinnati Division IV? I think they gotta be.
I tell you what. From my understanding, Caden Warner may have to sit out the first half of the year, but he transferred way back in the school year. Had some issues at his other school, but transferred way back in last school year. So once they get Caden back, along with some of the other guys that they already have, and Coach Roberto Allen has done a great job over there with a Division IV program, kind of turning them around. I have to believe he was Coach of the Year last year, had the Player of the Year in the conference. So, with some of the other pieces that they have over there at Gamble this year, I think they are the favorites around here. And they may be the favorites in Southwest Ohio. You have Caden Warner, kid Michael McCann, 6'3" junior.
Strong kid.
That's the returning Division IV Player of the Year. So I think they are going to be pretty good. Another young kid that I don't know if people know about is a kid that transferred from CHCA that's at Cincinnati Woodward this year. His name is Aaron Davis. Aaron Davis will probably end up playing the point over there for Coach Redding. He's real solid, sound defensively, can push the ball up tempo style of player. So that's just another one of those young guys. He has Coach Redding has Davion Mace over there.
You mentioned Jarrell Redding's team at Woodward, and that gets me to what we wanted to talk about. So in talking about the teams, I think we hit the teams, but some of the players in Cincinnati, and we hit the big ones: Deuce McBride, great triple transfer, Bash Wheeland at Lakota, Alec Freem at Moeller, Abba Lawal, Joey Edmonds, Grown Man, the Purcell kids, but some of the kids to keep an eye on in Cincinnati that maybe aren't as well known statewide, and one of them is Deontay McBride at Woodward. He came to my fall open gym, and he really competed, and he shot the lights out.
So, honestly, in the CMAC, I think you have to look at those seniors as potentially being players of the year in the CMAC, and even players of the year in Division II. You have to look at those seniors. The grown man down at Taft, But a surprise, I think a surprise for everyone will be Deontay McBride. Last year, I think before he ended up, he had some health problems or something. Before that happened, I believe he was averaging about 15 a game, 16 a game as a junior. So he'll have a breakout year this year over there for the Bulldogs. He's going to have to put up some pretty big numbers, I think, to be able to compete and beat, the Hugheses, the Tabs, and the Aikens, because I think just top to bottom, those teams will be better this year.
Yeah.
Just top to bottom. I mean, from a depth standpoint,
Woodward lost a lot of guys.
they lost a lot. I mean, when you lose a double machine, as Terry Durham, I mean, that's that right there. And then you lose the double-headed monster and Hakeem Thomas and DeMontez Cooper, which basically they played with 2 point guards last year. It's difficult to get right back in the mix and be toward the top of the league, especially with some of the pickups that in the Kai Smith at Taft, the Paul McMillan over at Hughes, some of the pickups that some of the other programs, the little guard that transferred from St. Bernard to Aiken,
No doubt.
So it's hard with them picking up some of those players to be able to compete with those teams.
A couple other seniors that I want to mention, Michael Hill at Withrow, long, can score the ball, can distribute. He's another kid. If he can put the pieces together, he can have a huge senior year. He can propel what I think is a really good Withrow team that's ready, and they've got a lot of size and length, and he's a versatile wing. Bryce Hill is a kid that's going to average maybe 25 points a game at Seven Hills. That's another. I think they're Division III now. If they're Division IV,
I think they may have moved up a division.
Okay.
Because Bryce Hill, the strong kid.
No, Bryce Hill's the light skinned kid, real long.
Okay, not very
Curtis
familiar
Harrison.
with. Not very familiar
very
with.
good player.
Seven Hills.
And then Noah Pack, 6'8", 6'9" kid out of Georgetown. Ethan Conley was really high recruited Division II kid out of Franklin Monroe. And then CJ Napier, they're going to be a nice little team up at Bishop Fenwick in Middletown. And then some of the other kids, senior-wise, we talked about DeMarco Howard and Jalen Robinson at Hamilton, Ibrahim Athi at Deer Park, Tremaine Smith, they call him Noodles, at Aiken. I think those are some of the guys you're really going to see. And then you mentioned earlier, outside of the Taft kids, a kid at Hughes I think will have a good senior year is A.B. Haruna. He just got stuck behind good players at Hughes, but he as a senior is going to get the chance to play. He waited.
AB will be huge. AB will be huge for Hughes this year. Playing that 2-3 spot, but he's strong enough. He's about 6 foot, but strong enough to even guard post players because he's a really physical, strong guard. He'll be huge for Hughes. So I think with that three-headed monster again, not to harp on Hughes too much because I'm over there coaching, but I think the people are going to be really surprised. We haven't mentioned Keontae Thomas, who's over there, who's been there. He'll be a junior this year, so he'll be really good over there as well for Hughes. So AB's due for a breakout season, and I think with him having a legit guard again after losing Santiago, a guard that can play the point to score the ball, but also a willing passer. And Paul, I think he'll be really good and thrive in Coach Wyatt's system.
Well, let me run through some other juniors real quick. We talked about Mark Wise at Deer Park, Evan Prater at Wyoming, Aaron Ward at Winton Woods, Max Land at Moeller, Alex Mangold at Lakota East, Steve Gentry at Deer Park. Some of the young kids Princeton has. Couple other kids real quick. You talked about Nick Smith at Walnut. We haven't talked about Jackson Ames at West Claremont. He's been knocked up with injuries. But he's 6'10". He's a big boy. And then Grant Wisman played with the Pumas team at Middletown Madison, can score the ball. Curtis Harrison is the big kid you were talking about at Seven Hills.
Okay.
He's a kid I think he could come into his own.
This really could be. I saw him in the preseason in some open gym workouts, and I was like, wow, where did this kid come from?
Yep.
His body, he has a college-like frame right now. So it'll be interesting to see what Seven Hills, because they have a lot of talent over there at Seven Hills this year. So it'll be interesting to see just off the player that you mentioned and then the kid that I saw, that right there alone in Division IV should carry them a long way.
In the league, the Miami Valley Conference, where 2007 I was honorable mention all conference. That's right.
Okay.
And you made fun of that one time because you told me honorable mention doesn't count. It hurt me really badly. But
let me apologize to the people. I hurt Corey's feelings, so I apologize.
2007.
On the podcast, and we're live, or so I apologize to Corey for his honorable mention.
Thank you. But Seven Hills is definitely the favorite in that league. So, well, younger kids. We talked about your son. We talked about Isaiah Walker's going to have a big year in Wyoming. Damari Martin's going to have a big year at Wynn Woods. Jakata Stone, Caden Warner, Logan Duncombe at Moeller. Let me tell you about a kid nobody knows about.
I'm listening.
His high school coach invited me to go out and watch him play. It was about a 45-minute drive. He's also a really good football player. His name is Braden Sipple at Blanchester High School. It's country as hell, but the boy can play.
What? Give me some background on him. How tall?
He's about 6'5", big time athlete,
dunker,
big time dunker.
So
you saw him play?
I saw him play, and I've been seeing some of his dunks.
Yeah.
They've been posting dunks and things like that on Facebook. So I have saw him now. I believe he's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore, not a freshman. He's a sophomore.
Yeah, sophomore.
Yep, he's a sophomore.
Spring last year. He is a big time player, and he gets a chance, Coach. They play in that Ohio Valley Hoops Classic, that Benny Carroll's event, and they don't get a lot of big games at Blanchester. So their coach is really excited about that. I hope he has a big game. There's another kid out there you probably are familiar with, Skylar Schmidt. Claremont Northeastern, plays on the Nike circuit. Big body, doesn't get a lot of love out there. And then one other kid played the Cincinnati Royals as well, is A.J. Braun from
A.J. Braun, yep.
Very good player. That sophomore class in Cincinnati, I think, is going to be really good. Freshman class, I know Paul, and then you're big on the kid at Princeton.
I was going to name two kids that really you all really need to take a look at and be looking out for this year. They both will probably wind up starting varsity. Obviously, Princeton they're really deep at the guard position. So that'll be interesting to see what Coach Steve actually does in his second year with so many guards, because he has.
What's the kid's name?
This kid is Bowen Hartman.
Bowen
Hartman is he's about 6'3" now.
He's taller than the other guards Princeton has.
He's taller than other guards. He's a better shooter.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a little more athletic than some of them. White kid that can dunk the ball with two hands. And I had the pleasure of coaching Bowen the last 3 years. I'm really, really excited. Bowen's dad was actually a coach. He coached at Western Hills. He coached the girls for a couple years. So I'm really excited to see Bowen and what goes on with Bowen over at Princeton. So he has a tremendous upside. Probably will end up being about 6'5", and depending on what his minutes look like, he probably will wind up being one of the best shooters in the Cincinnati area.
We didn't talk about what Princeton is. Princeton's they'll be good this year.
Yep.
Next year they should be tremendous.
They should be even better because they're even younger next year. I think. With the addition of the kid Micah Thomas, who came from Clark, he's like a reindeer type of player.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Athletic, bouncy. And again, with that guard play and then, those returning players, Princeton you can't take them out of the conversation. They'll be young as some of the other teams will be. But after the break, some of those teams will start to come around. Another kid that's a freshman that'll probably start point guard at his school this year is a kid named Colin Tolbert, and he's at Mount Healthy. Really take a look on him. He had a really good summer with us. Playing against high level, some of the best talent in the country. And he did really good with Mount Healthy over the summer when we watched him play in summer leagues and things of that nature.
This is going to kill me. What's the name of the kid at Mount Healthy that's a junior, that's a Lanier? Last name's Lanier, right? Brandon Lanier, is that his name?
Yeah. So
they have a football kid who is a tough high school basketball player.
He went 2 years ago in the tournament as a freshman. Yeah. He just gave us all kinds of hell down on the post. He's a football player. He's a kid that'll go to school for football, similar to the kid that's just a monster, but they play different positions at Colerain. The slashing kid that's headed to Miami. Sincere is his name.
Yeah,
the kid Sincere over at Colerain. But some of those football kids are just so tough that they changed the game
But
on the
Lanier's
court.
got some post moves.
Oh,
too.
yeah,
It doesn't
I mean,
look like it at first.
If we look back, I think he gave us, when Mount Healthy played Woodward in a tournament a couple years ago, he gave us fits. And that was Terry Durham that was guarding him, another big, strong kid. But this was a football kid, wide body. Brandon Lanier, he'll add to that. And again, look out for the kid, the freshman, Colin Tolbert. He'll be really good over there for Mount Healthy.
Okay. And then two other kids I missed that I wanted to talk about real quick. Moeller, guys that didn't get to play on the varsity last year. Michael Shipp is a senior. He's about 6'5". He shoots it. And Jake Youngkin will probably start at guard for them. Really, really shoots. This is a really good shooting Moeller team, and those two kids are going to have some double-figure games. So that was a good rundown. I think we hit in terms of Cincinnati, Division I, Divisions 2 through 4, and then some of the players to watch. Certainly wish you guys good luck at Hughes. You guys, like you said, have a great schedule. Play-by-play, flying to the hoop.
And we play ball. The kid Romello Ball.
Oh yeah,
we play Spire, and we called the check to make sure in the play-by-play classic that we're actually playing that team and not the other team. So we have them as well.
Paul McMillan, LeVar Ball could be some high level talking. So.
Well, I'll be on the bench, sitting there as an assistant. I won't say much. I'll just sit there and just kind of have the book, and when coach needs the clipboard, then I'll hand him a clipboard. So, I'm the good thing about it. I'm not a head coach any longer, so I don't have to have those battles.
Do this for me real quick before we wrap up. One more time. Date, location, everything for your event.
So the Cincinnati boys basketball preview will be November 24th. It's at Woodward High School, and the first game starts at 3:00. It's 10 games on slate for that day. So it'll start at 3:00. The last game starts about 8:40, and you get some heck of a matchups. Make sure you get your tickets early. We want to try to get those tickets sold early. We have the one of the biggest matchups. You have Cincinnati Woodward versus Preston. You have Deer Park versus Cincinnati Hughes, which will be playing us. You have Purcell that'll be going up against the Aiken Falcons. So you have Coleraine that'll be going up against Walnut Hill. So it's some really, really good matchups. And this year, better than any other year, I really did a good job of mixing up the matchups. I mean, you get to see some really different styles of basketball, and all of the good players. Pretty much, we pretty much have everybody except for Tav usually goes to Columbus and play. Wentwood's first year. Wentwood's first year. Obviously, Coach Tuck is over there on that staff with Coach Tate. With his ties to the All Ohio family, and so they'll go. Wentwoods and Taft will play in Columbus, and then we didn't get Moeller. I'm gonna try to get. Hey, Coach Kramer's been good about coming over and doing things for us. He's came over and done some coaching clinics for me. Talked at coaching clinics, brought over his whole staff, did some demonstrations. So next year, I think we should be able to get Moeller. Coach Kramer, if you're out there and you hear me. I'm anticipating.
He listens.
Yeah, well,
I swear he listens.
If Coach Kramer, I'm sending out a request. If Hughes takes down Moeller the second game of the year, we need Moeller, the state champs, the defending state champs. We need Moeller to come over and play in the preview next year.
You guys should have a staff game because they got more damn assistants than you guys.
Oh my goodness,
Moeller's got about 25.
Moeller has about 25 assistants, and Hughes has about 20. So but it makes for great practices because every single component, every single thing, every aspect of the game is covered every day in practice because it's so many people.
When Coach Kramer came on our podcast, he talked about Coach Jerkowitz down there, and he does a great job with their defense. And if you've never been to a Moeller practice, they do a great job. But for coming on here, man, I want to when you're on the mic at the preview, we need some listen to the podcast. We need some shout outs and everything.
So we definitely
you always do it for me though. So I'm not. I didn't have to ask.
As soon as the podcast drop, I'm gonna send it out. I have about 3,000 contacts in my phone. So we'll send it out so everybody listens to the podcast. I'll send it out via text. One group message. I'll put it, the tagging and on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll put it everywhere. So we definitely want the people to listen to our preview here in Cincinnati and then come out and watch the preview on Saturday, November 24th at Woodward.
I got to end on a depressing note, man. I remember 2011, maybe. I was just starting to do open gyms. We were at Cincinnati State with Tuck. 'Cause me and Tuck were doing them. And Lil Paul was in like the second grade. And I'm like, man, everybody's like, oh, this kid's going to be really good. And it's finally he's in high school. So I feel super old.
Well, guess what? Here's a funny thing. And you said depressing note because you old. Here's the thing. I've been waiting for this kid to be in high school. I've been waiting for my son to get in high school. It seems like for 20 years. and just to put some emphasis on, I've been waiting so long. And I think the whole city has been waiting for him to get in high school. Well, I heard a kid say the other day, Paul, you should be killing. You're a 19-year-old freshman. And I almost fell out my seat. It was so funny, but that's kind of, and Paul just a couple weeks ago turned 15 years old. So, it's been a long time coming, and I'm excited as a basketball fan and as a parent that he's finally in high school to get a chance to see my son play against some of the other better kids in not only the city, but the state, and also even in the country with some of the tournament that we play in Florida over Christmas break.
Good deal, man. We appreciate your enthusiasm. You've always been one of the great advocates for city of Cincinnati basketball and young men all over. So, guys, that was Paul McMillan. I want to thank him for coming on the podcast. For Jason Moore, I'm Corey Albertson. That was the Cincinnati high school preview version of the Triple Double podcast. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. PlayEasy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.